Tonight.
Pledge allegiance.
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you'll bow your heads and pray with me. Lord, we're so thankful today for your goodness and mercy to us. Thank you for the city. We thank you for the blessings that you've bestowed upon us. Lord, I pray today that you would touch this meeting, give all those that make decisions and those that have to make choices for our city, Lord, to come together and follow after your lead and your wisdom, your guidance. Lord, this is the day that you've made. We'll rejoice and be glad in it. We so appreciate all that you've done for us. I pray for our mayor, council members, first responders, those that have anything to do with making the choices for the city. I pray a blessing upon them. I know it's not an easy job. I pray that we would serve one another as you served us and helped us and showed us the way to live. I pray that we would do the best we can for your kingdom. This is not about our kingdom or who gets what or who's in charge or whose name is where, but it's all about you. And I pray you cover this city with your grace. We thank you for all things. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Trexel. Roll call, please.
Mayor Milan.
I'm here.
Councilmember Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Sampson.
Here.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Here.
That is a quorum.
Thank you. First item for us to attend to would be approval of the agenda.
Madam Mayor, I would like to add a presentation for Stanley Industries as item A on the proclamation. And then I'd like to remove items B, C, D, E, F, and G for the next council meeting
Under item number 9.
under item number 9, yeah.
B, C,
You wanna pull-
D.
Do B, C, D, E, F, and G?
Yeah.
Under new business?
Yes.
Those B, C, D, F, and okay.
And I'd like to make item G a special meeting by itself.
Okay, so we'll leave that one on and we'll have discussion about that one?
No, we're just going to move it
Just
to a
remove it
special
off?
meeting.
Okay.
That's under 9.
Yeah, it'd be 9G.
So under new business,
So it'd be B, C, D, and E, August.
All right.
And then G will be a special, separate meeting.
so that's the motion, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you consider removing 8B and C out of the consent agenda?
Oh, just for conversation? Sure.
Okay, make them
You add
items.
that in?
We, as soon as a council member requests that, we move it. It doesn't have to be a vote. When it comes to consent agenda, we just move that on request. Okay.
Okay.
And I'll put that under you, sir. So that'll be the new
New business,
I guess,
B and C.
one B and C, okay. Do it
Sure,
before the
that
other
makes
things? All right. Should it pass, should we go forward? Okay, so we just have a motion on the floor. Support. Just a second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Mayor Milan.
Yes.
Councilmember Sampson.
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
The agenda got shorter.
Thank you. So what we did was we took off from the agenda, from the consent agenda, we removed the reappointment of Aaron Redmond to the Planning Commission and an appointment for Brian Kobler to the Planning Commission to give those individuals a chance to speak if they choose and for anyone to ask questions if they may like. And then also, we just moved to another meeting, some ordinances, just for sake of ease of this meeting. So we'll address those at our next meeting, and we just made our meeting agenda shorter. So having done that, we will move on to the next item, which is public comment for items on,
Oh,
no?
okay. Yeah, you're right.
Right? Yeah, you're trying to make me, I get the public comment
right this
section
time.
right, and then he wants me to make it wrong. I'm just kidding.
How dare you get it?
Right, how dare you mess up my mojo thing. So we're at item number 6, which is public comment for items on the agenda. So if you're here this evening and you would like to speak to the items on the agenda, you may make your way to the podium. We ask that you state your name and your address, and we will allot you 3 minutes. We ask that anyone who's speaking, please remember public meeting, kindness, compassion, all of those things. And I don't usually say that. I don't know why I just said that, just in case. Thank you.
Susan Moffett, 726 Drian. I'm afraid that coming here tonight is an exercise in futility. For over 14 months now, the community has begging for two of you on the dais and your nefarious friend who refused to resign to stop dragging the community through the mud. We asked you to uphold the foundation of our country, to respect the voice of the people over your petty power grabs and your personal agendas. Yet the answer the community received from the three of you has been a resounding no. We don't care about the democratic process, the community, or anyone's opinion but our own. And yet, we stand here because I, and those that join me here tonight, will continue to look in the face of evil and corruption and say it needs to stop. The lawsuit is apparently over, at great cost to the community and the image of the council, but mostly loss of trust of the individuals involved. The council has the opportunity to move forward, to do what is right. I hope you listen carefully to what the community has to say and takes actions based on their guidance. My personal opinion is that the only appropriate way forward to fill the vacancy is to respect the vote of the people, as two of you have so passionately argued last Wednesday, and to give the seat to the person who got the next highest vote count in the November 2021 election. That person is Scott Tinlin. The community is watching and asking you to do your job. I only hope you can do it this time.
Is there anyone else?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Move it up a little bit. I'm Scott Tillon. I reside at 1095 Key West, and I'd like to make some comments on Agenda H for consideration for the vacant seat discussion. But before I make the comments, just so everyone knows who I am the first runner-up of the 2021 November election. A lot of my supporters wanted me to talk about the appointment of George Georges during that event. I encouraged them to let the government and legal processes prevail. So I'm glad today that we're past that. We can move on as a community. I formally have communicated my interest of the vacant seat last week to the body. And from an appointment decision, I think it's great. It's back to the body that should have made it. I didn't anticipate 13 months, but that's the way it was. With that, if we had made this decision back in the time when you should have done it, most of the community would have supported the first runner-up being placed in that vacant seat. So from a common sense approach, I don't think that's changed. I probably could stand up here probably for a few hours and have a discussion about that, but I won't, because I know there's some other individuals that want the time. But I'm hoping and praying that we get past this, because there's other things our community needs. And we definitely need 5 voting members. That's the way the council was designed. So I hope and pray we can get this resolved quickly. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Tinlin.
Hello, all. Kathy Phillips, 226 Hendrickson. You've seen me up here quite often on both sides of this podium. I did convey to you guys, a week and a half, week ago, whatever it was, that I was interested in helping the city out by taking that 5th place and helping you finish out the term till November, which was actually my term to begin with when I left to run for mayor. And Paula beat me at it, so she gets to sit up there. Rah-rah. Anyways, I just thought from the perspective of there is no bringing me up to speed. I'm already there. I have 10 years experience on the council. Everyone knows I have no personal agendas. I have nobody that is pulling my little puppet strings. I speak what I believe, and that is it. And I vote the way I want to vote because of what I believe, not because of what someone's telling me. So I'm throwing it out there for you guys. It's only 6 months. I'm up to handling that type of stuff, and now I think I could get through 6 months of doing this again. And then come November, there's an election, and there's going to be a lot of seats open, and let everybody run for it. So just take it into consideration. I know you guys will make a good decision.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Good evening, Council. My name's Tim Quinn. I am a 60-plus year resident of this great city. I don't voice my opinion very often unless I feel very passionate about something. And the reason I came here tonight was to talk about the selection process to fill the vacancy. When I found out that was on the agenda, I kind of went back and reflected and looked at what had transpired in the past and how we got here. And the more I looked into it, the angrier I got. I looked at videos and looked at what transpired on the November 3rd election or council meeting. And I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. So I just wanted to, before we get into the selection process or my 2 cents worth, who I feel would be appropriate, I would love to ask the 2 members of this council that got us to that place. Because I looked everywhere for the reasoning behind what they did, and I can't find it anywhere. And I thought, well, what better place than to come here and ask? I'm a citizen. You are the elected officials. Please share with us what it is that drove you to those decisions, because I want to believe in you. I really do. I disagree with what you did, but maybe I missed something. But you have never shared why you did what you did. Tell me where I should go and look. Can we talk? I mean, there's a lot of people in the city who are very angry about what transpired. And everyone's, well, I don't know why they decided that. It didn't seem legal. I look back and the timing and everything, it was like, it just didn't seem right. So I'll give up the rest of my time if you want to share with us your reasoning for what you did. Love to hear it.
You can always give me a call. I got a letter I read to the community at a council meeting. You must have missed that. That explains everything in it. So I'll get you a copy. See me after.
That'd be great, but I still don't understand the reasoning behind what took place. So I just wanted to share that with you. The main reason I'm here is to voice my support for Scott Tinlin, who I had met previous to the election. Very knowledgeable, well-versed, great background. Seemed like he really cared about this city. And he was the next in line to get the seat. But for some reason, he was overlooked. And the guy who finished 4th got appointed to it, which made no sense to me or a lot of people I know. So I would hope that you guys do the right thing this time. You got a chance, and right that ship. Let's move forward. I don't want to spend any more taxpayer money on frivolous, lawsuits. You guys have a lot on your plate that you need to address, and it keeps getting kicked to the curb. So let's move that aside. Let's move forward, but do the right thing. I support Scott, and I hope you do too. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak?
Hello, my name is Nate Hara. I echo the last gentleman's comments and his disagreement with the circumstances with which we are faced. I was also on the ballot for the 2021 election. That election was fraught with many problems. Ms. Phillips' delayed resignation past the filing deadline was most disorienting to everyone, and it resulted in a lot of the problems we're facing in now and the confusion. There was also another candidate on that ballot who shouldn't have even been there based on her age. That wasn't addressed, revealed, or even accentuated by the council members at the time. So a lot of the community members were confused at that moment as well. And then, of course, what has been described multiple times, and I think very gently with the language used, the decision to listen to the legal counsel at the time as to what the next step was in letting the next council decide who to fill that seat through appointment was not followed. Rather, a sinuous motion to ask for the resignation of George Georges, seconded by you, Lou, and you, Glenn, only to accept that resignation and then reappoint Mr. Georges 6 seconds later. If either of you were to appoint me in this moment to fill this gap, I don't know how this community would trust me to do anything good for the next 6 months. I look forward to serving in the Planning Commission in the hopes that someone can look at what I'm doing there and be proud of that activity, because I genuinely believe the end result matters, not the talk, but the actual accomplishment at the end. This community desperately needs trust. You've destroyed so much trust. So many good people living and working in this city, getting up every day, acting with personal responsibility and integrity. And I think it's why we're all here today, enjoying the community that we have. So much trust has been destroyed. It's time to rebuild some of it. Please think carefully about how you go about doing that with your time left. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Okay, then we will close public comment, and we'll move on to the next item, which is proclamations and presentations. And our first proclamation presentation, Nick, did you get that photo? Could you prepare it for us, please? Michelle, would you like to come forward and bring your team? Because I know they're your team. So we've been doing our Clausen Community Spirit Award for the past several weeks, and I was at an event the other day, and I saw Michelle, and Michelle was so excited because the company she represents, Stanley Industries, won an award from the Chamber of Commerce for the ELF, I'll get the name wrong, the ELF scavenger hunt. Businesses put up elves, and then people went around town and completed a sheet and were awarded, right? But Michelle, as you can see, incorporated her business's products along with many elves, and their company won the award from the Chamber of Commerce for the decorations. And the winner for the elf contest was Jennifer Perkins' husband, Dan. She was extremely excited about that too, but that's a different story. So, Michelle, I've seen you at so many events. Michelle works for Stanley Industries. I would like your daughter to tell us what Stanley Industries does in just a minute, because I was at a Chamber of Commerce event the other night, and someone said, "What is Stanley Industries?" This girl has it. Everyone needs her. She's got the elevator pitched down to a science. But first of all, I'd just like to read this award for Michelle. It says, "We present this award in recognition of your community spirit. Stanley Industries has invested in the city of Clausen, as evidenced by your active support of the Clausen Chamber of Commerce, Clausen Youth Assistance, and the Rotary Club, and your sponsorship of events such as Clausen Paws, Trick or Treat Trail, the Clausen Farmers Market, the Clausen Police Back to School School Supply Drive, and the Clausen Elf Scavenger Hunt, just to name a few. Thank you for choosing Clausen for your business for more than 50 years. We wish you continued success in your business and are happy that you call Clausen home. You are an example of the true heart of Clausen." So just to say, the heart of Clausen is not just you people who live here, although those hearts are really precious. Our businesses are also precious to us because they help improve the fiber of all of our lives. So I'd like to give Michelle an award and take a photo with her family. And Christina, can you help me out with something? She's gonna pretend she's shy. This little one is not shy. Don't let her fool you. What's wrong? Are you okay? Christina, will you please tell everyone what your mom's company does?
Nathan, what do we do?
Will you do it? Nathan,
No,
tell us
what do
what
you do?
Stanley Industries does.
Stanley Industries sells nuts and bolts.
Right?
That's all I really know.
It's an example of,
Right to the point.
Clausen has so many unique businesses, right? We have a harvester, I don't know if the harvester's there anymore, I shouldn't say that, right? We have so many unique businesses, and Stanley Industries is a small company, and they have huge impact, and they pivoted during COVID, sold PPE equipment and such, didn't even realize some of their clients needed PPE, and they just kind of reinvented themselves. and I want to present this to you. You guys come and join me for this one? Because we can do something else for you. Can you press that button? Oh my gosh, I am so typical kid. Nathan. So if anyone went to Trick or Treat Trail and saw a Joker, the Riddler, sorry, I knew it was green. Saw a Riddler, it was him, he looked phenomenal. Can you hold this for me? You're not playing along today.
I'm just standing up so I can get everyone.
But that's okay.
I'm trying to get one
Still
to
love
send
you.
to Joe.
You can call me Penny if you want.
Sending this to Jim right now.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you so much. Have fun playing with the lights. Thank you, sorry. We can sit there. Oh, yeah, it's fine. Christina, I'll see you next time. You'll be happy, right? Don't work yourself here. I hit her in the eye earlier. Thank you for that. Next up will be a presentation by our Charter Commission. Samantha, are you sitting back there? Are you going to be the audience? All right, here we go. Hi, Brad. Welcome back.
Good to be here.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, council members, neighbors, thank you for your invitation and warm welcome. On behalf of the Clawson City Charter Commission, it's my pleasure to bring you this 4.5-minute report. For those who are new to our city and may not know much about this yet, in November 2021, a slim majority of Clawson voters elected to review and revise their city charter, which is now 83 years old. And at the same time, they elected 9 of their neighbors to represent them on their Clawson City Charter Commission. And we, the Charter Commission, have one job, and that is to look for ways to make our city charter better for all of us now and for generations to come. Now, before I talk about what we did since the last time I was here, I want to talk about what should happen in 2023 if all goes to plan. The best outcome of this process is for a strong majority of the people of Clawson to happily vote in favor of revising their city charter on November 7, 2023, insofar as the revisions they approve improve city government and the quality of life in Clawson for generations to come. Now, for that to happen, 3 things must come first, and they are these 3 things in reverse order. 3, by July of this year, this city council will need to approve putting the recommended charter revisions on the November ballot. 2, by the end of June or the start of July, the governor of the state of Michigan will need to approve all of the revisions the Charter Commission recommends. Now, in order to receive a full review from the governor and her approval, we need to submit that document to her by around April. And that brings us to 1. By April, the Charter Commission really needs to finish drafting the revised charter that it wants to propose to the people of Clawson on the November ballot. So last fall, we finished a thorough review of the entire city charter. We deliberated every line, every single word. We listened to charter experts and people who work with our city charter every day, including current and former city officials and employees. And we took what we learned and passed the first 2 batches of recommended revisions before the end of 2022. And those were easy things like taking out sections that are now illegal or obsolete, adding gender-inclusive language. A week from tonight, I expect we'll pass a 3rd batch of recommended revisions, and those would be sections of the charter that would be better as ordinances rather than embedded in the charter. The charter revisions we recommend are available to the public on the Clawson City Charter Commission website, and that's at cityofclawson.com. So the revisions we voted to recommend so far are easy ones that will not change much about city government or the way things work in Clawson. However, we are coming to the part of the process where we must deliberate questions that have to do with the city government's form and function. And these are big questions that deserve a lot of input from a lot of people. We don't have time for a full list of the questions the Charter Commission will deliberate, so I want to give you 3 that are likely to be the biggest. The first is, should city officials have to resign their seats to run for other offices? The city charter requires that they do this, so should we recommend a change? Madam Mayor, you yourself know that you had to resign your seat on the city council to run for the office you now hold. Is this requirement good for the city government and good for the people of Clawson? A second question we are likely to deliberate is how should city council fill its own vacancies when they arise? I don't think I need to make a case for why that question is worth deliberating. And the third question is how might we improve the clarity and definition of the responsibilities and roles of city council, the city manager, and mayor? What revisions might we make that would improve the way our city officials work on their own and work together? Now, I want everyone in the room and watching at home to hear me. These are only questions. Up until now, your Charter Commission has only raised them. We have not attempted to answer them, and we have not deliberated on them yet. But now is the time, because April is coming. So over the next 3 months, we will debate and deliberate on our way to reaching consensus about what revisions, if any, we will recommend the people of Clawson make to their city government in the charter. Now, to the people of Clawson, we work for you, and we want to hear from you. We represent you best when you tell us what you feel and think. So we want to hear your complaints and your concerns, your ideas and suggestions, and we need to hear them now. So please come to our Clawson City Charter Commission meetings on the second and fourth Tuesdays of each month. We meet here at City Hall at 6:30 p.m., and we have an open mic ready for you to come talk to us, so please use that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions at this time?
I'll take that as a no. And remember, residents, he stated that he wanted us all to be able to happily vote on this charter
Happily.
commission. So
I picked that word on
please
purpose.
give, yes, I knew you did. So, yeah, make sure you pay attention and offer your input where you can. And that's it. You're doing a great job. Thank you
you.
so much for coming
Thank you.
tonight. So next up on the agenda, first of all, Michelle, thank you for coming tonight. You and your children do not have to sit through the rest of this meeting unless you want to. I'd like to state that. I couldn't do it quietly, so I'm just going to say that out loud. There'll be no shaming if you turn around. Then we'll move on to the next item, which is an update from Attorney Kevin McGinnis on the matter of George Georges versus the City of Clawson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me here this evening. First of all, may I approach?
Of course.
That's the lawyer in me. I'm sorry, we're not allowed to just walk up places.
For good reason, no doubt. Thank you.
Thank you.
What I have just handed you is the signed settlement agreement between the City of Clawson and City Council and George Georges in the lawsuit of George Georges v. the City of Clawson and the Clawson City Council. I'm here today to give an update, and I'm glad to say that we've reached a full resolution. I was before the council last week at a special meeting seeking approval, and wanted to be able to come back in a public forum to be able to go over some of the details. I was unable to go over the specific details of the settlement agreement last week until it was signed and executed by all parties. Now that it has been, it is an official document. In this case is now moving on to the next step, which would be to file a stipulated order of dismissal, which will be done forthright. What I would like to do very briefly, and trust me as an attorney, we're not known to be brief, but very briefly I'm going to go over the terms of the settlement agreement. Since this is a public document, and I'm sure people are going to FOIA this document, it's going to be out there. So again, in an effort of transparency, as I've been asked by council to come here today and go over those terms. For a full resolution of this matter, which had we not resolved this matter would have continued on to trial. At trial, we could have come out with, either side could come out with a better outcome, a worse outcome, the same outcome. But there's no control at the end of the day. And the other thing is there's no control as to when this entire thing would be over. And so in an interest of putting this behind us, all parties came together on both sides and worked out this resolution. The resolution has three specific terms. One term is that the plaintiff, George Georges, agrees not to accept the appointment to Clawson City Council and waives any claim thereto. The second term is that the defendants, which is the City of Clawson and Clawson City Council, shall pay the plaintiff the sum of $14,000 towards attorney fees and costs. And then the third term is that the defendant shall issue a statement containing very specific language which is contained in the document and which will be read, I believe, at tonight's meeting. So all in all, the rest of the settlement agreement contains standard mutual releases and provisions that require the dismissal of the litigation. I'd like to say it's been a pleasure of mine to be able to serve this city in the capacity that I have. Of course, I would have liked to serve the city in a different manner, in a different capacity, as anybody in this room would. But again, I thank you very much for allowing me to be of service. Do you have any questions for me?
I do not, but I would like to open to the floor in case any residents have questions. So I'd like to suspend the rules so that we can allow, in case anyone's out there that has a question, I would just like to be able to address them now and maybe not have to do this on another meeting.
I motion to suspend the rules.
That's what I meant. I'll support.
Mayor Milan?
Yes.
Councilmember Sampson?
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd?
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson?
Yes.
Thank you. So what I just did was, well, what we just did was say, if anyone out there has any questions, I know people are looking shocked and whatever. If you have any questions that we can direct to Mr. McGinnis, please step forward and state them now. My hope is that we can resolve any of these prickly things tonight so that when we leave here tonight, I don't know if we'll resolve the seat this evening. If we can, that will be wonderful. But I would really like any kind of questioning or just, I'd kind of like to leave it all here tonight if we can, as much of it as we can. So if anyone has any questions, now is your time to address them. If you don't have any questions, then that's fine, and we'll just move on. Feel free. You'll have to come up to the mic, though. Thank you. And you'll need to state your name again.
Tim Quinn, Selfridge.
Thank you.
I'm curious, the fee attached to pay for the attorneys involved on his side, is that a requirement that the citizens of Clawson pay for that? I'm just a question.
So we entered a settlement, right? It was mediation and it was a settlement. It was a back and forth, and you can explain probably better than I.
Yeah, that's correct. So ultimately, a settlement was reached, and the terms were agreed upon. Had the matter continued to trial, a number of things could have happened, including an award that could have been less than, equal to, or greater than any costs reached in settlement. And so again, the goal of settlement is to try to just resolve the matter and stop it and eliminate any uncertainties down the road.
And of course, if we would have continued, there would have been additional court costs on both sides, right? The longer we would have carried this out, we would have paid Mr. McGinnis, and the other side would have to pay their attorney as well. Does anyone else have any questions we could answer?
Dawn Turner, 740 Langley. I'd like to
I
know
think
the
it-
total cost of what this, your fees, everything else, not just what you're paying him. I want to know how much we're paying for everything.
Sure, yeah, that's completely understandable. I would have to, I don't know the exact total amount off the top of my head. I apologize. I know it is all part of public record, so I gladly get that and supply that information to council.
You can defer to the city manager. He can get it.
Yeah, we can defer to the city manager. He could gladly update any and all costs.
I can speculate. I know the I would imagine you're at liberty to disclose the settlement
That's
amount
correct.
to Mr. Georges.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, so that's $14,000 plus our current legal costs from you, which I'm speculating is probably knocking on 15 to 20 right now.
That's probably about right.
I'm sorry.
So it's roughly $30,000 to $35,000 total cost right now.
you explain in any way that's...
You'll have to come to the mic because this is being taped and they won't hear you. That's okay, thank you.
Question for Mr. McGinnis. Nate Hara. Again, was there any specific legal basis that you thought jeopardized the city's victory if it had gone to a trial?
I mean, there was arguments that were made in the pleadings, there were arguments made on both sides, and anytime a case goes to trial, there's never a certainty on that. Sorry, apologize. There is never a certainty in the outcome as it comes to trial. There were claims that were raised that, in my opinion, there was not a slam dunk case in any way, which is one of the reasons why I believe this is coming up before the Charter Commission for revision, so that something like this cannot happen again in any way.
So to be clear, there wasn't any legal basis. You weren't concerned we would lose the lawsuit because of some law. It was just a dicey situation, so to speak.
Again, any ultimate determinations as a legal basis, and again, I'm not trying to dance around this, are ultimately made by the court. I have my opinion, which is why I defend the case. I believe we had a valid defense, otherwise I would not defend the case. And so I think that's probably about as clear as I can be.
Is there anyone else? Okay, last chance. All right, thank you, Mr. McGinnis.
Thank you.
So as part of our agreement, we had agreed upon verbiage to Mr. Georges. Mr. Georges, thank you for coming today. And I would like to say thank you for being a gentleman throughout this process. I know there's a lot of thoughts on what could have and should have happened. I personally think things could have been a lot different. And I'm glad that I just say thank you for being a gentleman throughout the process, right? So residents of Clawson, due to the events precipitated by a question of our charter and the validity of Mr. Georges being able to take the oath of office on November 15th, Mr. Georges sought judicial intervention to clarify the issue once and for all after the city could not form a consensus for a legal opinion. Understandably, there were various viewpoints on this topic, and there has been significant conversation regarding the validity of his position, which at times was extremely impassioned, some of which took on a tone that brought discomfort to Mr. Georges and his family. We are sorry that Mr. Georges and his family suffered. We appreciate Mr. Georges' willingness to resolve this issue by entering into a settlement and respect his decision to no longer seek a seat on this council. This council will continue to encourage our residents to express their rights to free speech while striving to facilitate an environment that is respectful and encourages dialogue. We want every resident to feel comfortable participating in our meetings. We are grateful for Mr. Georges' service to the country as a sergeant in the Marine Corps. We are grateful for the many hours of service and dedication he has graciously volunteered to this community, demonstrated by his time served on the Planning Commission and his willingness to serve on the City Council. We are pleased to be able to move on from this issue, to work together to continue to serve the great city of Clawson and our residents, and we wish Mr. Georges well in his future endeavors. So, any comments? Good.
Thanks for your time, George.
Okay. Great, thank you. We'll move on from this item now. The next item on our agenda is a consideration of a request by the Clawson Lions Club to hold their 25th annual Down on Main Street charity car show on August 12th, 2023. Did I miss something?
The remainder of the consent agenda.
Yeah, the consent agenda.
Sorry about that.
Madam Mayor, motion to consent agenda regarding items A and D.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Sampson?
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd?
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson?
Yes.
Mayor Milan?
Yes, thank you. Now, we're on to consideration of a request by the Clawson Lions Club to hold their 25th annual Down on Main Street charity car show on August 12th, 2023. would you like to come forward and tell us a little bit about the car show and your request and give me your first plug of the year? Thanks for being here tonight, Clive.
Well, thank you very much for inviting us. And I'm going to say us as the Clawson Lions, not necessarily Clive Brown. I'm just the representative. But first thing I want to do is, Madam Mayor, and through the mayor to City Council, thank you, the police, fire, DPW, and all the supporting departments and staff for the amazing support that you've given us over the years. Last year was one of the top 3 years that we've had in the past 24. It was, I don't know if it was a result of people anxious to get out. I want to attribute it to the fantastic support that we got from not only the city of Clawson, but from the sponsors. And 2 of the sponsors, our corporate sponsors, as a matter of fact, are the businesses are here in Clawson, and they support us in everything that we do. We've been blessed, the Clawson Lions, for the enormous support, and we've served the community here since June of 1944, and for that we're pretty proud and pretty happy. We have absolutely nothing but enormous respect and gratitude and appreciation for all that the community has done for us. I think everybody who has gone outside and got on Main Street on one of the second Saturday of August knows what happens. And without all the community support, all the spectators and the businesses chipping in, I don't think anybody could miss what goes on. It's a fantastic event. It's all charity. All the proceeds that we gather, we put in our activity fund, and we write checks for that throughout the year. All I can say is that it's a tremendous undertaking. The club is all in when it comes to working the event and preparing for the event. And all the money that we gather through sponsorships. And those sponsorships are us beating the doors on businesses and asking them for sponsorship donations. And they're very willing. They've always been very willing to step up and help us out. And that's what we use to pay for all of the porta-johns. That's what we use to pay for the trophies. You know, all of that is an enormous benefit. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having the show. Is it allowable for me, because we do advertise for them, to express who our corporate sponsors are? Our corporate sponsors are a tremendous financial benefit to us and to the charities that we support. One of them is Whiskey Taco Foxtrot. One of them is Weiss Distillery, and another one is Double Action Shooting Range in Madison Heights. The 3 of them have supported us at what we call a corporate level, which is simply a matter of, simply for us, enormous for them, of getting out a checkbook and putting ink to paper and giving us enough money to probably pay for a good piece of those things that are necessary. The golf carts, so that we can get people up and down the corridor. One of the things that works out really well is we get golf carts and citizens from all over that have walkers, canes, inability to make it from one end to the other. We have several volunteers that help us, and they get in a golf cart, and we move people up and down. We get emails thanking us for doing that because people can't make it from one end to the other. That's a mile round trip. And those little things bring out 5,000 to 6,000 people annually. And again, I thank you so much for the consideration. Talking is something I can do for a very long time. Speaking is not something I do well.
Madam Mayor.
So, thank you. Appreciate everything.
Wait, I need to know how many trophies you give out, because he has a flatbed full of trophies. It's not like a few trophies, it's a lot of trophies.
Typically, it's somewhere north or south of 200 trophies.
And some of them are as tall as he is, probably.
Yeah, taller, 6 foot in cases.
Nice.
I do the Facebook, and I really don't do well because I'm well over 60 years old, and I don't do well with that technology, but I have posted pictures of the event. Some of those that have volunteered, as I said, to run up and down in golf carts, and the trophy trailer. That's the pictures are there. I try not to get too wordy on the Facebook thing because I'm always afraid of what I'll say and where it'll go. So, but they are there. So, thank you. Yeah.
I like that you called it the Facebook.
I don't want to get personal with it, even though it's supposed to be.
Leo, you had something to say? Councilmember, sorry.
Me.
Yes, Sampson.
Madam Mayor, I move the request from the Clausen Lions Club to conduct their 25th annual Down on Main Street Charity Car Show on Saturday, August 12th, 2023, be approved and the Main Street be closed from approximately 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. or 6 p.m. on that day.
Support.
And the same kind of weather as last year.
Yeah, you have to have the same kind of weather.
That's
We're
day.
I wrote
working
that
on
in.
it. We,
Put that on there, thank you.
we are working on it. If I may
Second.
interrupt for just a
Second,
second
right.
before you vote. I don't know if I said this earlier, but without police, fire, DPW, and all of the supporting departments and the staff, again, it's an enormous effort on everybody that's involved with running the city of I almost said the wrong community because I've been there before, of Clausen. Seriously, with everybody works so hard at it. All of the departments and the supporting staff, and thank you so much.
You do an amazing job, and I'm waiting one day when you're going to have to turn the corner and start down some of these side streets, because it gets better every year.
Thank you, thank you. It's hope to keep it up. Yeah.
Okay, Councilmember Sampson made a motion, and we had a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Mayor Milan.
Yes,
Councilmember Sampson.
Yes.
thank you.
All set.
Thank you
very
all so
for
much.
being with us.
Appreciate
I look
everything.
forward to
Thanks for
this
doing
event.
it.
You're welcome.
Okay, next on our agenda, we're going to address the items that we removed from the consent agenda, which is, the first item is the reappointment of Aaron Redmond to the Planning Commission for a term to expire on December 31st, 2025.
I move that we reappoint Aaron Redmond to the City of Clausen Planning Commission for the
Support.
term as specified.
Support.
Any comments, questions? Aaron, you're here. Anything you'd like to add? What? Note that, somebody? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Mayor Milan.
Yes.
Councilmember Sampson.
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
And just for the record, Ms. Redmond served on the Planning Commission for 3 years, 2 years, 3 years?
I think it's about 3-ish. I came in midterm with someone.
Well, and just if you watch the
One full
meetings,
term, yeah.
she's always prepared, she adds a lot, and she does her homework, and we appreciate that. Thanks very much, Aaron. Next up is an appointment of Brian Colbert to the Planning Commission for a term to expire on December 31st, 2025. Is Mr. Colbert here this evening? He is not here this evening. That's okay, it's not mandatory. He is a gentleman who had an interest in serving on the Planning Commission. His application is in our packet. Is everyone good with Mr. Colbert? I spoke with him on the phone. He's very energetic. He's looking forward to serving.
Excellent. Yeah, I did not have an opportunity to speak with him, but I had a couple people say good things about him, and I was confident in their recommendation to me that they could vouch for his character and that he is capable and more than willing to serve on the Planning Commission.
And we love willing to serve.
I'd make a motion, we appoint over to the Planning Commission ending when?
Ending December 31st, 2025.
Support.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Milan.
Yes,
Councilmember Sampson.
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
great. So we have a new member of Planning Commission, Mr. Culver. Wherever you are, we look forward to meeting you and to all the great things you'll do on the Planning Commission on our behalf. So next item on our agenda is discussion of the vacancy on.
No.
Oh, wait, did I miss something?
Consideration of the second reading. We have the ordinance ahead of that.
I thought we moved all of
All
those. Did we not move all of them?
They're all moved.
Oh, even
Moved
F
all of
was
them.
moved too?
F was moved, yeah.
Oh. That was a published public hearing.
Well, I mean, we're here. We can do it if you want to.
I'll make a motion, we add it back on the agenda.
I think
Keep
that'd
us
be
honest.
appropriate. Yeah.
Okay, then consideration of the second reading of an ordinance to.
Who seconded it?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Support.
Thank you.
Roll call on that.
Councilmember Sampson.
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Mayor Milan.
Yes,
Thank you.
great. Now, consideration of the second reading of an ordinance to govern crimes related to financial transaction devices and possession of fraudulent or altered financial transaction devices. This is our second reading. Mr. Newshy?
Madam Mayor, members of council, that's correct. This is our second reading on this ordinance. With the increase of financial transaction devices such as credit cards and online wallets, we deemed it appropriate to add this list of new ordinances to complement what we currently have on the books in order to better assist our police officers in combating these particular crimes. Council already reviewed and had questions on this topic. I'm happy to address any additional questions you may have. Otherwise, we would love for you to be able to adopt this.
I don't recall any requests for changes to the original document, right?
no, there
Okay.
were none.
All right, then if we have no comments,
No.
then do we have a motion?
You did.
So then roll call, please.
No, we didn't have a motion on this one.
Oh.
Oh, I didn't
No.
think so.
Yeah. Just to put it back.
I'll make the motion.
Gotcha, sir.
I'll support it.
Thank you.
Roll call?
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Mayor Milan.
Yes.
Councilmember Sampson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll publish it accordingly, and it'll go into effect as it should.
Okay, wonderful.
Did she open the public hearing and close it?
No, she didn't have the public hearing. I guess we could still do that.
Oh, yeah, that was the whole point.
Yeah, that was the whole
of
point,
doing
was
it.
to have the public hearing. and
Excuse me,
Kind of
let's
forgot about
backtrack a
it.
little bit. I'd like to open up a public hearing regarding the item ordinance to govern crimes related to financial transaction devices and possession of fraudulent or altered financial transaction devices. Public hearing open. Would anyone like to speak on this topic? Great answer. Public hearing closed.
8:23.
Was it a record?
No, but it's good.
Next time.
It's close. Okay. Thank you, folks.
Okay,
I want
thanks.
to get that done.
Okay, moving on. Next item on our agenda is discussion of the vacancy on city council. So as all of you are aware, we have a vacancy on our city council seat.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I put together an example, a memo of processes that other cities, spoke to Troy, Marquette, East Jordan, Michigan, other councils that recently did appointment processes. And I got their best practices and their good points and bad points, and put this together as an example of what we can do.
So I'm not shaming you, but I didn't see this till I sat down.
Right, and it didn't
So-
get put together till today.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's fine. I
that's why.
haven't read it,
Yeah.
don't really know what's on it. I can scan through. It's
Well,
basically has timelines on process, right?
Madam Mayor, since it's
Yeah.
a document that obviously the public doesn't see, in order for us to jive with you, maybe we should have August read it onto the record really quick.
I was just going to ask for
Thank you.
that.
Yeah, so basically, the process that I put together, and you can do this or you don't have to, it's just one from the best practices of other clerks. We would post this notice of vacancy on our website and on Facebook, and have the notice of interest and other questions available at the clerk's office tomorrow, as soon as tomorrow. By Friday, we would publish that notice of that vacancy in the paper. Okay, none of this is required by law. This is just best practices that other communities have done. We set a date of like February 2nd. Again, these are just rough days for applications to be due, so that they can be in the next council meeting's packet on the 7th. So we get all the applications on that Thursday, and they would come out to you that Thursday, and then you'd have the weekend to look at it all. And then you can either make a selection on February 7th or call a special meeting in a later time. So
That's a
both
great,
have been done by other cities.
okay, so great option, right? The other night, we had an option We had a request to go to special election, and at this point, there's no time for that. So that is not an option. So the proposed option here today is for us to take applications for people who may want to serve in this seat. I would say there's yet another option.
Madam Mayor,
I'm
I
not
think-
finished talking.
I think I can shorten this for you.
May I please? I think the other option would be for us to entertain a motion to do what we would have done on November 3rd, had we had the opportunity to make a move on November 3rd. I think my viewpoint is if this council had the opportunity to name someone to this body on November 3rd, following an election, less than 24 hours ahead, we would have selected the next person in line, and that would be Mr. Tinlin. Mr. Tinlin has been, I've only spoken with him a few times, probably twice before the election, and a couple times since. One was when I asked him if he would be willing to serve on the Planning Commission, mostly because I thought if he served on planning, he would get his feet wet, he would get to know the people in our community, how our business administration operates, and get a good understanding of what we do should something like this ever transpire. None of us knew what was going to happen. None of us predicted that 13 months later, we'd be sitting here and just resolving this issue. So saying all of that, my preferred option would be to name Mr. Tinlin to this seat, given those conditions. I will now concede to you.
Well, I'd try two things, two motions. A lot of people are concerned, so I'd like to make, first motion would be appoint Kathy Phillips to the council, because it was her seat that she did win at one time. So if I get a second with that one, we can vote on it and get it out of the way.
Support.
Okay, so conversation. No disrespect to Kathy. Kathy, I appreciate your willingness to serve. I like the letter that you wrote, and I like what you said today. But that seat was not available. It is not Kathy's seat. That seat should have been resolved before we had an election, in my personal opinion. And if you thought that, you should have nominated Kathy on the 3rd instead of Mr. Georges, and that's not what transpired. So I don't think that is a natural way to go. I think that is still being disrespectful to the voters who cast their votes on the 3rd in a legitimate election. Look, I used modern terminology in my speak here, in a legitimate election, and cast their vote, and he was the next elected official. Those are my thoughts on that. Mr. Anderson, you've been silent. What do you have to say?
Well, Ms. Phillips is a well-known, well-respected individual in this community. When she ran for mayor, however, she was defeated pretty soundly by Ms. Milan. I think what that says is, despite people's respect for Ms. Phillips, they wanted this community to go a different direction. I think also reflected in the council. I mean, I'm new to this whole process, and yet I managed to get more votes than anybody else. So I think that kind of says the community was looking to go in a different direction. And so for that reason, I don't support Ms. Phillips for that appointment.
Any comments?
I think this, bears witness to the need for the Charter Commission in the first place. That if something had been in the charter for a process, that we'd be at a point in time, whether the same outcome or a different outcome, that the likelihood is that she probably would have not had to step down. But that's up for the Charter Commission to determine if that's the process that they would like to take, and that she would have held her seat as she vied for the mayorship. But having said that obviously that there was other people that had run for city council, and I was one of those that was elected to this position. I would. I strongly believe in the ability of the voters to make that decision. I would love to give them that opportunity, but I understand the practicality of trying to get that accomplished before the next election, and I think we just need to move on at this point and expedite the decision-making process on who we have on council.
That sounded great, but I think I'll speak for many people that are staring at me right now to say the voters did make a decision on the 2nd of November. And on the 3rd of November, part of people serving on this body did not honor their choice. And we are here today, and Kathy served very well on city council and would have made a great mayor, I'm sure. Her having to step back from the seat is irrelevant to the vacancy on this seat at this point. I had to step back too. I stepped back when I was on planning. Many of us have had to do this. This issue today has little to do with our charter. It has a lot to do with people
Let's call the vote.
trying to meet a goal, and that's wrong. That is wrong. So let's vote on this, please. Sure. Rules are still suspended, correct?
No.
Oh, would you like to suspend the rules and allow?
Well, this might make
Ms.
your whole
Phillips?
decision easier. I'm going to withdraw my name because I don't want to see this go through the whole rigmarole again about this and this and this and this and this. I just want to see the city move forward. And if that means Mr. Timlin, that's fine. And I'm going to withdraw my name from this process. And just know that I'm there for anything else that you guys need. And I'm going to go back and sit down and watch the rest of Yellowstone.
Kathy, I'll withdraw my motion and change the motion.
It's on the floor, you might as well just vote on it.
All right.
Vote.
Yeah.
My motion is to appoint Scott Tinlin to
We have
vacancy.
a motion on the floor with a second. We got to deal with the motion we have.
We can vote the other one down.
Now,
Okay, so Councilmember Anderson,
I'm sorry, could you repeat the?
Kathy Phillips' motion, that's what we're voting on. It's on the floor still with a second.
No.
Thank you. Mayor Milan,
No.
Councilmember Sampson,
yes.
Councilmember Shepherd.
No.
Fails.
All right. I motion that we appoint Scott Tinlin to the vacant seat.
Support.
Any comments?
Let's vote on it right away.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Milan,
Yes.
Councilmember Sampson.
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
All right.
Mr. Getschlag, I would like to swear Mr. Tinlin in as our next city council member, effective immediately.
Don't exactly have an oath handy, but I can get one in 2 minutes.
Come on, you can do one.
Why don't we take a 5-minute break until he
Yeah,
gets
you
it?
can,
All right, let's take 5.
Take less than that.
Oh, we'll go get a 5-minute break.
talk amongst yourself. Thank you for your service on planning.
And being that we do not have the ability for the body itself to accept their resignation, may we have a vote on that from this body?
Sure.
And accepting.
I'll make a motion, we accept his resignation from Planning Commission.
Support.
Okay.
We have learned, right?
Very much, haven't we all?
All right, who made the motion?
Mrs. Sampson, supported by Mr. Shepherd.
Thank you. Councilmember Sampson?
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd?
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson?
Yes.
Mayor Milan?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
You?
Can someone photograph this for us, please?
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Put a flower on this check. There's no reason to.
There you go. Oh, sorry.
Wow, what
Make it
service.
presentable. He's gonna see it.
I know.
All right.
Raise your right hand, please, sir. Repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
I'll support the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of this state,
the Constitution of this state,
and the Charter of the City of Clawson,
and the Charter of the City of Clawson,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties
and I'll faithfully perform the duties
of the office of City Council Member
of the office of City Council Member
in and for the City of Clawson,
and for the City of Clawson,
County of Oakland,
County of Oakland,
State of Michigan,
State of Michigan,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Welcome, neighbor.
Thank you.
I don't know, it felt a little painful, still.
We couldn't do it until today.
True.
Once we got a lawsuit, you couldn't do it. Well, tell everybody that we couldn't do this before because of the lawsuit.
Mr. Tillman?
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Come on, sit down. I like that.
Yes. No rest for the weary.
You can even vote on something now.
First off, on behalf of the City Council, I would really like to welcome Mr. Tinlin to our body. Looking forward to working with you, seeing what great things we can do. Would you like to share anything?
Well, one, I'd like to thank you for the honor. You know, I'm always very persistent, so this was what I was hoping to happen. I wasn't expecting tonight, though. So I do promise to give service back to the community. That's what I had promised during my campaign. So I'm very excited about sitting in the seat and hopefully contributing as best as I can. So thank everyone for the support I've had over the last 13 months as well. Thank you.
Wonderful. And because we like you so much, we have the rest of the agenda is super light. We're going to make your first time here so simple, easy. Unless we want to add all those other things back in just for fun.
No.
No, agree with that. Do we have any old unfinished business we'd like to discuss this evening?
No. Not I.
No? Then we shall move on to public comments for items not on the agenda. If there's anyone here that's just been clamoring to say something, now is your opportunity. We care, of course we care.
James Waddy, 612 Goodale Court. I just wanted to put out that Clawson has had their tournament, the Spartan Classic, and we just came from one last week, and I just wanted to say for one of our top athletes, Lyndon Fitzpatrick, he is a junior over at Clawson High School. He did extremely well and was a significant factor for us to, and elevated very quickly in the program. So I just wanted to say thank you to him and to the rest of the wrestling team for welcoming me in, because I've only been here for 2 years into Clawson. And I just wanted to say to the council members, whenever another vacancy comes up for your seat, I would like to put my hat in the ring for that.
Careful what you wish for, sir.
All right.
I had the pleasure of, I was invited to go attend one of the meets, and I have not been to a wrestling meet since my brother was in high school, and that was a super long time ago.
Yeah.
And the coaches were exceptional. The young men under their care were really great, and it was fun to watch them support each other. What a crazy environment to watch a bunch of young boys doing these kind of things to themselves.
As a matter
But-
of fact, tomorrow we have another meet. We're going, I think it was against East Point, right here at the high school. The event starts at 7. If you guys want to come out and just see what we can do.
Awesome. Thank you
right.
for volunteering. Thanks for making an impact on our community. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Madam Mayor.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak?
Congratulations. Thank you. Joan Horton, 590 East Elmwood, Clausen, and this is kind of related to something that was on the agenda, but not something you were voting on. And it's related to Mr. Georges. I didn't know Mr. Georges personally. I interacted with him when he was on the Planning Commission, and I appreciate that council apologized to him and noted that he is a veteran who served, I know now, served in Vietnam and very affected by Agent Orange, and yet their council apologized to him. I think there are some people in this room who have stood up and called him a traitor that could show some class and do the same thing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay, we'll close public comments for the evening. City Attorney's report.
Nothing this evening, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. During our audit debrief, I shared I would provide the council with an update on requisite policy developments as cited in the office in the audit. Staff and I have identified drafts from other communities, which we will continue to work. We then need to have our drafts reviewed by our auditor and the city attorney prior to coming before council. This will be an agenda item for our next meeting in February, or I will have another progress update for you. During our January 3rd meeting, council passed a motion for me to provide a list of contracts the city has with supporting detail. I provided you this hard copy and will attach it electronically to this week's Friday feedback. As I mentioned in last week's Friday feedback, on January 9th, we received notification that Congresswoman Haley Stevens' office sponsored our federal grant application, was part of the omnibus spending package that was signed by the president at year's end. We'll be receiving $710,000 in support of the water main replacement at Washington and Broadacre. That is part of this year's current CIP project plan. This is in addition to the $424,000 we will be receiving from former Representative Levin's office for the Red Roof Road reconstruction projects. A special thanks to all city staff, and especially Assistant City Manager Nick Stepnitz, Finance Director Kelly Rao, DPW Superintendent Trevor Zablocki, DPW Assistant Superintendent Ryan McDonald, and our city engineers, AEW, who contributed to the development of these grants. Pending your questions.
Congratulations on that. That was an excellent email to read this week. We look forward to what you can do with that extra money that you're going to spend there anyway. So that's another conversation, right, on those projects. So congratulations. Let's go out and get some more of those, shall we? Magic wand, whatever it takes. Any other questions for our city manager today? And could we please add this to the minutes?
If I may, because sometimes, pursuant to the OMA, we cannot just simply pass things that the community doesn't see. Nick, if you have this in an email, could you put it up on our screen or share it with our,
I can provide it for.
if you don't mind, please.
Oh,
So
all right.
yes, the answer to your question, of course, yes, and also we'll do that.
Yeah, thank you. That's why I asked, of course.
Sorry, that's what I was, trying to talk to the gentleman over there about. Please.
Okay. Excellent. So what he sent us, what he passed out to us was existing contracts with the city of Clausen. So this will be available in the meeting minutes for those of you who are interested in looking at that. Were there any other questions or comments for our city manager?
I'd just like to say, good job. $1 million to help with our infrastructure is a great step forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, city council comments. Let's start with our newest city council member.
Well, I think I've had enough comments for tonight. So again, thank you so much for being here and on the seat, and I look forward to serving.
Thank you. That was a good choice we made, right? Councilmember Shepherd?
In the spirit of keeping this meeting brief, I'll defer to the next meeting.
Thank you. Councilmember Sampson?
I'd like to make a motion to put the settlement document in the minutes.
It already is. It's-
Wonderful.
It'll be done.
The whole thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thank you.
No, then I have no comments then.
Good.
I just want to
Councilmember
make sure that people
Anderson.
have to forward, they just look at the minutes.
I have no further comments.
So I would just like to say thank you to everyone who came out today, for everyone who followed this process, for everyone who cares enough about this community to share your voice, whether it is a voice that is appreciated by all or not. That's what this process is. And each resident is important, each voice is important. We just need to work to find a way to share our information and come to a good spot where we can all just get along. So I will go home and sleep much better knowing this is over, and really thankful that we've been able to put this aside. And I'm looking forward to moving forward and seeing what this council can accomplish in the next year. And I just wish you all well. Have a great evening.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
We're on Shepherd.
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Milan?
Yes.
Sampson?
Yep.
Tinlin?
Yes.
There you go. You're on the books.
Brothers.